Hi, my name is Lulu. I'm a compulsive overeater. And today I want to discuss the different levels of recovery. Um, the, you know, God meets everybody right where they're at. And I like to meet people where they're at too. And that was a work in progress. That was part of my step work, helped me to meet people where they're at, the way that God does. Okay. Uh, Rather than being one of those that goes around and thinks like, well, they could use the step work. The minute I think somebody else needs step work, guess what? I need step work. You know what I mean? That's what it means. Well, that person should be doing this, and I think that person's a compulsive overeater. You know, oh, that person's been sober for 10 years, but you'd never know it because they're such a grouch. You know, just thinking like, well, you know, mine's better, or this one, or I'm saying, oh, I wish I was recovered like that person, and I wish I was happy, joyous, and free like her, and I must be doing it wrong, or I must be stupid, or I must have missed something, I must have missed it. It didn't come true for me. It came true for her. It's not coming true for me. So I remember I sat down with this woman who had very, very, very strong recovery. She's from A Vision for You. And I said to her, like, how do you process like all the fellowship, and you just see people that have, people that are just, say, dry drunks, or people that are just not eating, or are just not eating but really not working the program. It's kind of like, isn't the steps the program? Like, what else is the program if it's not the steps, And she said, yeah, Lulu, we just have to meet people where they're at. And she went on this little spiel, and I was just like, can you say that again so I can write it down, everything you said? I want to write that down. So we started over, and I wrote down what she said. It's not very long, but for me, it was very, very powerful. She said, Lulu, recovery is progressive. All of us have received a certain degree of recovery which needs to improve. She said, this was just talking about alcohol at the moment. Sober beats drunk. Abstinent beats binging, right? So if somebody's not binging anymore and they're abstinent, there's level 1, right? Needs to improve. There's a lot more for that person, but for that moment, they've received a degree of recovery, a certain degree of recovery. And then maybe the next level they may feel is sober and happy, because sober and happy sure beats just sober, right? So imagine if you're just starting to feel little bits of happiness, just little bits here and there, as you start coming off the booze, and your detoxing has calmed down a bit, and you're not crawling out of your skin as much, and you're going to program, you're meeting people, and you're starting to feel like, wow, this might be a happy way to live. And maybe you're not happy, joyous, and free, but you're happy, and you're sober, or you're abstinent, right? So it beats just being abstinent alone. Then she said, and then feeling useful and grateful, that beats happy. Like when you start feeling useful, because that's what happens in this program, you just have like a usefulness, and then you start feeling grateful, especially if you practice it on a regular basis, that beats happy, because that's like happiness in a megaphone, So there's another level. Wow. All of a sudden, I'm starting to feel grateful. Maybe I'm not happy, joyous, and free. Maybe I still have some resentments. Maybe I've still made a mess of my life and I have amends to do, but I haven't got there yet. But you know something? Today I feel kind of useful, kind of grateful, and I'm abstinent. There's another level. It's another degree of recovery which needs to improve. And then there's humble and peaceful. Oh, that beats grateful and happy, Because when you can be humble, that is almost an impossible task for an addict. Humility. Well, was for this know-it-all control freak to just, I always want to say take a bite of humble pie, but that almost sounds like non-abstinent food. But it's not a real pie. You know what I mean? Humble and peaceful. Think about that. Just that level of humility where you can just say, you know something? Who says this all the time? Holland G. I don't know. I don't know. This know-it-all don't know. I don't know. There is something really beautiful about that. And that comes with a lot of work, a real lot of work. Like, what is it? Step 7, I think it says, humbly asked him to remove my shortcomings. So it's right around step 7 when we start to feel a little bit of humility, you know? And then she said, there is no end. And that was the end. There is no end. Come up with your adjectives, what you consider that would be bigger and greater, and it's maybe that level of service. Well, you know what they say in program? There's a way that you come in the door, and there's a way that you know that you have friggin' made it in this program. You come in a big shot, and you graduate to servant. And when you start feeling like a servant, right down to the core, to the marrow of your bones, that's what I'm here for. That's what I'm here on this earth for, not just at this meetings, because it does say in step 12, I try to carry this message to other compulsive overeaters, and I practice these principles in all my affairs. What principles? The principles of humility and integrity and compassion and patience and honesty. All this shit was new to me. Courage, willingness, self-discipline. I know that God does it all, but I do my part. I do my 5%. I do my 10%. And my food prep is my self-discipline. How I follow my food plan, that's a power greater than me. But I have tasks to do, because I'm a believer that I co-create my life with God. So I'm fully engaged in the creation of my life. My creator created me, but the life I live is a co-creation. And it needs my attention. I need to really take really good care of myself. Then that's where I find I am useful. With that, when we talked about usefulness, it's like you're a hell of a lot more useful, kind, and patient and considerate with people when you are with yourself. And when you can just say, something, I friggin' love myself. Like I love, that there is no end. Because remember when I was talking about my skin crawling, when I didn't know what to do with myself, when I didn't smoke and drink, and I wasn't eating, and I wasn't cooking, and I wasn't flipping through recipe books every 2 minutes, and I wasn't going to diet clubs and gyms and going in circles trying to, right? There is no end. Just like I said at the end of this woman's list, there is no end. That's what keeps me busy. There is no end. There's always that next best version, next better version of myself, just waiting to be teased out. And it always seems to accelerate the more I get out of myself and into other people. The minute I'm going to start thinking about what I need, what I want, what I should do, what I shouldn't do, what you should do, what you shouldn't do, that's more likely. I lost my train of thought. But when I am doing that, I am distracting myself from my own work, for which there is no end. There is always another version of myself, better version of myself. And I believe that for you too. So wherever you are, what does it say in one of the, never mind. um, it's about identifying with each other rather than comparing each other. Just, I identify with every single one of you, every one of you, because I am you and you are me. And I always say, like, you can't bullshit a bullshitter. Right? So it's kind of like, I know who you are because I am you and you are me. And we might have different stories, and we might have our addictions may have manifested different life situations as a result, and we've maybe harmed people in different ways, and we have, your character defects might look different than mine. Bottom line, what does Harlan say about character defects? He said, yeah, you can think, you can figure out all you want that you're this. Well, I just, this is what I do all the time. I blame people, and then I judge people, and I do this. So he said, you can really fine tune it to find exactly those things that you do. He says, but bottom line is we all have the same four. We're selfish, self-seeking, dishonest, and afraid. And any of those self-seeking behaviors that come up that end up being part of our step 6 list, they could all come under one of those labels. And he just said, you don't have to look any further than selfish, self-seeking, dishonest, and afraid, just like it says in step 4. That's what we do our step 4 writing on. And so wherever you are in your recovery, when you hear somebody that sounds like they've got a level that's deeper and richer than yours, give them a call. Because let me just tell you, it's contagious. Just say, something, I heard you talk at a meeting today, and damn, you're like, I feel like, it's like, I remember my sponsor saying, like, this whole thing, it's more like caught than it is taught. Like, you catch it, it's like contagious, and people were at meetings talking about things like angels, and I was like, I'm calling her when I go home. I don't even know her, but I want to hear all about her angels, and I want to hear this, and I want to know that. And and then I had this woman in a meeting, and I was just like, you feel like God to me, and I don't even have a God. This was early in my recovery. I hadn't even finished I was still writing, and I just said, like, I feel like I don't know what God is. I'm still trying to, like, come up with my conception, and I'm trying to have a relationship with it, and I wanted to trust it. And I said, when I sit with you and you speak, I feel like I'm in the room with God. In fact, she's in my contacts. It says Mary God. She's local, and I just know, and that's the Mary. It's God Mary, And I remember telling her that day and thinking, oh, she's going to think I'm silly. Something? I don't think anybody has given her a higher compliment than that. When you think about, and I didn't even know I was complimenting her. What more would you rather hear? Oh, your hair is pretty. Oh, look at you. You look nice in those jeans. Or how about, when I'm with you, I feel the presence of God. Think about that. I had no idea what I was actually saying to her that actually made her life. Like, she still talks about that, 6 years, almost 7 years later. And she's like in her 80s. And she was my God until I got another level of recovery. And there was just one on top of the other. And there's more. We don't run out. It's a good thing we don't run out, because what would I do with myself? This is why I can fully accept the idea that God's presence is mysterious. I used to criticize that. I would say, like, oh, God's like my invisible friend. Like, oh yeah, we all have a little invisible friend here, And it was just so snarky and cocky, And basically, it's a mystery. It's a fascinating mystery. The reason that it's a mystery and that it will remain a mystery is because if it was small enough for me to understand, it wouldn't be big enough for my needs. It needs to be so big and unattainable and it's never unraveled. It's too big. It's just too big. So my job to maintain my level of recovery. No, to move on to my next level. I'm right now I'm in a level of recovery that feels really, really good. And I just know there's more. I know there's more. That's why I keep sponsoring. I keep showing up for this website. I practice these principles in all my affairs. I'm on it. I'm on it because it's who I want to be today. But oh God, I lost my train of thought again. Yeah, it's so I'm really excited. So that's how I wrapped my head around the idea that the mystery of God is exciting, fascinating, and it's logical. It's logical, you know. It's just inexhaustible. I needed it to be inexhaustible, and then it just always keeps me busy, you know. And I'm going to end it right there. Thank you for listening.